In our news bulletin for this evening, population estimates released by the Statistics Niue reveal a slight population increase from 2011 to December 2014, and migration figures for the first quarter of this year show a net migration of -57. A New Zealand Member of Parliament debates a bill to allow residents from the Cook Islands, Niue and Tokelau to get super. New Zealand High Commission hands over sports equipment to the Niue Rugby Union, an encouragement to young people to get out and get physically active. The fourth round of cricket games proves tough with some great competition over the weekend. Statistics Niue has released the latest figures and population estimates that show a population growth of 0.5%. The total population to the reference period 31st of December 2014 population on island was 1,627 and counts including those that were off island 1,726. In comparison to December 2011, residents in country census counted a population of 1,415. The population has increased slightly since then. Population by gender registered 835 males and 891 females, with 50 babies born and 16 deaths. Movement of population off island in December of 2011 was 242, June 2012 was 193, December of 2012 372, and December 2014 99. Population by distribution according to villages, Alofi South had 25.1% of the residential population. That was a total of 433 people. Hakupu, the next biggest village, with 193 residents, accounting for 11.2% of the total population. The smallest village was Namukulu with 11 residents, accounting for 0.6% of the population. Figures have also been released for migration for the first quarter of this year, ending March with a total of 1,643 arrivals. The total departures 1,700 and net migration of -57. From those who arrived on island, 1,204 were visitors, and from that number 562 were Niuean and 642 non-Niueans. In addition, there was a total of 439 returning residents. Departures had 329 residents who left the island, with 4 indicating that they were leaving permanently, and those returning as visitors, 1,371. Average total earnings based on estimates of money spent while on island was an estimated expenditure of more than $435,000 for Niuean visitors, and non-Niuean visitors spent more than $550,000. Population estimate statistics and migration figures are very important to identify population growth or decline, as well as the distribution of the on-island population that will enable decision makers to plan accordingly. New Zealand First wants a law change so Cook Islands, Niue and Tokelau residents are not required to live 5 years over the age of 50 in New Zealand to be eligible for the New Zealand Super. The matter was raised in regards to Section 8C of the Social Assistance Bill discussions, where Winston Peters spoke on his supplementary order paper to exempt the 3 countries from that section within the bill. The discussion revolved around the requirements for immigrants entering New Zealand to be eligible for the New Zealand Super. It would mean that they would have to live in New Zealand for 10 years after they turn 50 to get the Super, and often these people may never have paid taxes in New Zealand before. On the other hand, Mr. Peters noted that there were residents of the Cook Islands, Niue and Tokelau who have worked up to 30 years in New Zealand paying taxes that may be disadvantaged or denied the New Zealand Super. There are already 7,000 immigrants who have qualified in this manner, and Mr. Peters says this is somewhat unfair because those from the Cook Islands, Niue and Tokelau are New Zealand citizens and should not miss out. One way this could be resolved would be a simple exemption in the Social Assistance Portability to Cook Islands, Niue and Tokelau Bill from 2014. The local rugby union has been presented with new sports equipment this week to assist with sports development on the island. New Zealand High Commissioner His Excellency Ross Ardern presented the gears to NRU Representative Norman Smesi. This latest addition will complement rugby equipment that the union received after the Rugby World Cup in 2011 and was also based on a request from the reunion.
Rugby Union made a plea to me for assistance in terms of equipment, which I've been happy to support out of the Head of Mission Fund. One of the things I noticed in Samoa when I was deployed there for 4 years is how active our youth are, and I'd like to see more of that in Niue. I guess my plea is, please, get away from Facebook and the iPad and spend a bit more time doing physical activity. It's good for the body and the soul. Oh, it's taken a month or two. They had to go through an assessment of exactly the sort of equipment that they wanted. We wanted to make sure that we weren't doubling up on things on the island. They had to demonstrate that it was going to be fit for use and it's going to have some life in Niue and had a place to actually store it and look after it and maintain it. So all of those things, those criteria have to be met before I put my signature on the end of the cheque.
The equipment gifted yesterday includes training and match rugby balls, stopwatches, ripper tags, whistles, ball tees and more. NIU Representative Norman Misi says that the union have plans to distribute equipment to affiliated rugby teams and have expressed their gratitude for the equipment sourced from the Head of Missions Fund. Excellency Ross Arden said that this is only one of a few projects they have supported with funds from his office that is open to his discretion. There are opportunities for other community groups to source funds if they meet the criteria.
If they meet the criteria, I'm more than happy to look at them. It's a discretionary fund that I have. We've helped in other areas as well in the past year with Hakupu Festival and the commemoration they had there. We're currently working with the Niue High School on an art project for them. So the criteria is quite wide, and we'll look at reasonable requests. But this particular one for the rugby union, I'm really keen on rugby, I'm keen on sports, and I want to be able to see our youth involved in physical activities. It's good for them.
Niue Rugby Union plans to resume the rugby season and games in July. Last Saturday marked the fourth round of cricket matches for the men's cricket season for this year, with some very close games. The fields or village greens on the eastern side of the island were kept busy, with 10 teams battling it out, and with a low team on bye this time round. Alofi and Makefu played in with a low, with Makefu batting first, 168 runs in total. Alofi managed to catch up with their 171 runs, winning that game. In Hakupu it was Tuapa versus Hikutoi. Hikutoi bat first with a total of 160 runs. Tuapa only needed 3 batters to catch the score with 188 runs. Tamkotonga and Lakapa battled it out in Vaia, with Tamkotonga scoring 257 runs, but Lakapa did well to catch up and scored 262 runs. Neighbours Hakupu and Liku met in Lakapa. Hakupu batting first with 333 runs. Liku spent the better half of the afternoon to chase the score, but only managed 266 runs, giving a win to Hakupu. The match between Avasele and Vaia was a close one, with Vaia scoring a whopping 351 runs. Avasele did well to chase right up until the final whistle, as scores were tallied up to find that they were at a draw with 351 runs each. Some tough games, and the committee have yet to meet to finalise all scores and deal with any disputes. This weekend, all teams will get a break, and finals are expected later on this month. That concludes our news bulletin for this evening.